more. They
Yes.
removed
But okay,
the mid.
No, number two,
Maybe they
the
call mid.
justification they're giving is that in the recent times they've had a
It's
lot
not
of
all the time that we have that.
false negatives from
Okay.
Nigeria.
I knew so.
And hold on, no, if you read this story, they're saying that in almost 4 weeks, 48 laboratories that should have provided test results
Have failed to do
have
so.
failed to do so. Who held them accountable? No. So if you have such basic things missing in your own system, you need to sit down and own your faults. You can't go into Ghana, for instance, now and be giving them fake results. Do you
So the
understand?
weight is Britain has its bashing, Nigeria has its bashing.
Of course.
Now I can take a PCR test here and test negative. Then on the plane, a cabin
Contact it. I
attendant.
agree. I agree.
Stories of the news. In-depth analysis of national current affairs. Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1.
Headlines, headlines.
You first. First Bank.
You first, first bank.
And you're listening to Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. You're welcome back. You're listening to the Smooth Breakfast Show, and it's time for Freshly Pressed 981. It's our in-depth newspaper analysis show where we go in-depth into today's headline stories. And of course, I have with me in the studio two analysts today that are with me. Joining me live today is Mr. C. Mr. C, good morning to you.
Good morning, Judith. Good morning, Lagos.
Good morning, sir. And also joining me is the very beautiful, quite intellectual Oyeyemi. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Judith. Must be a good day. Good morning, Lagos.
Good morning to you too. Join the conversation. We're streaming live on YouTube, so go onto YouTube at Smooth981. That's at Smooth981 on YouTube. You can also join the conversation via WhatsApp. Send your messages to the number 0809 4440981. That's our WhatsApp number. Again, 0809 4440981. Let's get started, shall we? We've pretty much heard the story about the ban. This one's coming from the newspaper. Federal government faults British travel ban, alleges most infected travelers from the UK. The federal government on Sunday ruled out the possibility of restricting foreign travelers from visiting Nigeria, travel bans on the country by Canada, the United Kingdom, Singapore, and Hong Kong. This is just as the government stated that most of the inbound passengers that tested positive for COVID-19 were from the UK. Now, the Minister of Health has said this on Channel's Television Political Today program on Sunday, and of course, was reported on the Punch newspaper. Now, the minister described it as unfortunate, the knee-jerk reaction of some countries to the Omicron variant, and he noted that even the World Health Organization had said recently that countries should focus more on collaboration rather than shutting borders, but that seems to be not
Okay.
the case.
So
Mr. C.
thank you, Judith. Now, ever since this Omicron variant was first discovered, we can clearly see a difference in the treatment and handling of the responses. Now, when the original COVID-19 virus came out, we all saw how the world reacted, especially the Western nations. Now, South Africa was proactive and it informed that, okay, it had detected the Omicron variant and really alerted the world, even though some other countries had indicated or suggested they had seen it first. Now, all of a sudden, there are all sorts of knee-jerk reactions from the Western nations against primarily African nations. And for once, I agree with the minister, Professor Ehanire, that the reactions are a bit premature given the fact that no one yet anywhere in the globe, and I stand to be corrected, has died as a result of having the Omicron variant. Now, what is truly required is increased collaboration between the various nations. Now, Pfizer has said that it is currently undergoing the process of determining how effective its vaccines are against the Omicron variant. And the results of that study should be out sometime in the first or second week of January. That is next month. Now, in the interim, the UK has, with effect from 4 a.m. today, has suspended travels for Nigerians from, in fact, for travelers from red list nations into the UK, and that if you're a UK national traveling from a red list nation, you have to go into quarantine isolation, despite the fact that you may have been vaccinated. Now, I think every nation reserves the right to make whatever rules it deems fit. But the problem I have with the UK's decision is that for Nigerians who have already applied for UK visas but have not yet been given a decision, the UK government has said that it will hold on to that decision, and they cannot apply for a refund of the visa application fees already paid. But that's not where I'm going. When applying for a UK visa, you submit your passport at the beginning of the process when you submit all your documents, and you only get it back when they tell you to come and collect your passport, whether it's you get the visa or it's rejected. Now, you cannot seize the travel document of another sovereign nation. It's simply not done, especially where no crime has been committed. If you want to hold on to your decision not to allow Nigerians into your country, what if the Nigerians who have applied want to travel to other destinations? They cannot do that if the passports remain within the custody of the UK government via its High Commission or the offices in the UK. So that is something the Foreign Office here needs to wake up to and be alive to the responsibilities. Further down the story, we read that 48 testing centers have consistently failed to send results of tests over a period of time. Now, this should really be disturbing because they haven't done it, and there's nothing to suggest or indicate that anything has been done about it. Who is the officer? Who are the officers responsible for ensuring that every week test results are gotten from labs that have been accredited to test passengers flying in or flying out? Now, I move on. The UK has complained that a lot of Nigerians are presenting PCR tests that are negative, but when they get to their destinations, somehow they're positive. There could be a plausible explanation for this, and it is that they contracted the virus whilst on those flights. Because it's who prescribed the PCR test. It's the same Western nations. So you cannot continue to shift the goalposts once the match has started. Now, I like the response of Nigerian government that for now it's not going to restrict travel from any nation into Nigeria, because we're still waiting for more studies, for more results on this Omicron variant. There's no point hastily responding to something they're yet to fully understand. And finally, the government is thinking of introducing vaccination centers at supermarkets and places of worship, because right now we've done about 3% of the sector of the population that should be vaccinated, and we're aiming to get to 70%. Why 70%? So that we can achieve herd immunity against the virus. So it's a welcome development, but again, we need to sensitize the people a lot more. Some people are still not convinced that taking the vaccine is the right way to go, and the government has to, as much as possible, allay their fears and concerns, and also ensure that the vaccines are widely available. Nobody wants to go to a crowded place to take the vaccines, wait for hours in all the confusion and the heat. So the government should think further, develop better strategies, and let's try to ramp up the vaccination. But whilst all of that is being done, we encourage everyone to continue to follow the non-pharmaceutical interventions, social distancing, washing your hands, wearing your nose mask, and let's all stay safe.
You sound very nice. Honestly, you sound really nice. This is not funny, oh. This you sound really nice. For me, it's a red alert for Africa, not just Nigeria. I think we should point out it's a red. How many? If we have another pandemic in another 5 years or 10 years, because we have to wake up to the reality that COVID is just a first in many
Series of
you
this
know.
type of
So if this is the imagine, let's flip the script. Imagine that everything started in Africa, like with Ebola, right? How is this how the world would treat the issue? just knee-jerk reactions, shutting everything down. Because let us look, the truth about it is in some cases, these things are like economic sanctions on us as well, and it's not equitable. I just think that it's a red alert for Africa as a whole to come together and just do the right thing. First, expunge nonsense leaders. Let's put it out there. Across Africa, we're 54 countries, 1.4 billion people, all led by where in Africa is really, really working at optimal, right? We need to urgently pace up on that, get rubbish people out of our offices, and bring proper administrators. Scarce resources can still serve. Do you understand? You don't have to have everything. You don't need to be importing everything. Scarce resources can still serve. So get that on. Localize our solutions as well. Everybody's looking outwards for the vaccine. What can be done locally? Can really solve this problem? Let's try. We just need to, otherwise we're just going to be put on table as meat every time something like this happens. I'm not even mask. Those are not my issues on this. I don't care whose passport they seize or what they say. I love my country. I want to go to their country. They say no. I'm thinking they are coming in as well. They are importing the danger to us. The only reason that we have not really escalated is because the truth is that from what is apparent, it doesn't hit us as hard as it hits them, right? I'm sure that's part of why the government will take the decision to keep our borders open. But honestly, I just feel like we should move away from all this you did, who didn't do what, and just own our own story. That's how they've been treating us since. It's not today.
Oh yeah. Well, your comments are quite solid there, but this also ties into this next story we're about to take. This is from Premium Times. Nigeria's National Council on Health seeks investment in local vaccine manufacturing after a lengthy two-day deliberation. The 2021 National Council on Health, that's the NCH conference, concluded Friday with a resolve for a deliberate investment on Nigeria's health security, starting with drawing support for pharmaceutical and research agencies to produce locally developed vaccines. Oyeyemi.
Yeah, I was making the point just now. I think it's a move in the right direction and it's very urgent. But I think what I'm looking at, not definite plans have been laid out. The story doesn't necessarily speak to the strategy, but we see that they're looking to collaborate with the Office of the World Health Organization and our representatives there, including the DG Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. We have Dr. Chike, who actually led a very great effort with the NCDC at the initial what's it called, incidents of COVID. So I believe that if we really come together, but like with everything we do here, I think we should, for the first time, try to be honest to our deliverables, because we don't lack the minds, Judith. I think that's one thing we've established. If you're looking for the best of scientists, you would find them here. If you're looking for the best of, doctors who have capacity, you would find them here. Comparably, and even in diaspora, we have people who are Nigerians willing to import their own training and value, but the system has to enable that, honesty from start to finish. We're still talking about lab results not sent. Mr. C said it. Lab results not sent for 4 weeks on something that should be watched on a daily, right? If you look at CNN or any of these international organizations, they have a daily tracker where they're looking at the numbers, there are graphs everywhere. And then 48 labs have not responded with their results for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And everybody is sitting down and lab. So how are you going to create a value chain for vaccination in truth? Do you understand? So for me, I think the administration of it is usually our nemesis. That's where it usually comes. So if there is anything, we need our local vaccination plans urgently. We need to also, apart from that, because we also need to look at our local solutions as well, because it's a trade opportunity. If we develop a vaccine that has an element that's different from everything else, and sort of solves maybe even prevents variation, or slows down the mutation of. I mean, I'm just having a great idea, right? If we have our own version of the vaccine that slows down this mutation, it's a trade opportunity. We too will start selling, and we will get dollars or whatever amount, whatever we're selling. So we should look at it broadly. It's something we urgently need to do. It's a business opportunity. It's a life-saving opportunity. But the administration is at the center of its success. If we don't get that right, forget it. We're just talking.
So just to quickly jump on that,
Okay.
timing is a bit interesting because we're heading into political season. So I'm not sure our politicians are interested in stuff like that. They're interested in what happens in 2023 and where they'll be located and fixed.
All right, let's move on now. This story was quite the heartbreaking and really very shocking over the weekend. And this is from Punch newspaper. I'm taking this for Mrs. C here. Sylvester Oromini, over 100,000 sign petition demands swift persecution of culprits. Over 100,000 persons have signed 2 petitions on the change.org platform demanding swift persecution of all those responsible for the gruesome death of 12-year-old Sylvester Oromoni, who was a boarding school student at Dowen College, Lekki, Lagos. The first petition, started by a family member of the deceased, Timi Oromoni, titled Justice for Sylvester Oromoni Jr., had attracted over 65,000 signatures as of 1 p.m. on Sunday. Mr. C.
Thank you, Judith. First of all, our thoughts go out to the family of the Oromonis. It is truly traumatic and heartbreaking to lose a child in circumstances such as this, and not understanding why they even happened can be very heartbreaking. So our thoughts go out to them. Now, I must point out that this is the latest in a string of incidents that have come into the public domain. In June 2021, all the way in Abuja, a 14-year-old girl, Karen Hapok Akpaga, was sexually molested and died following as a result or aftermath of the sexual molestation. The school she attended, Premier Academy Lugbe, of course, denied everything and were following their case. Then in December 2020, all the way in Uyo, another student, Don Davis of the Deeper Life High School, was also assaulted. And where we are right now is there's a criminal case ongoing. The principal and one of the boarding house masters have been remanded, and the mother is determined to get justice. Now, to this story. The late Sylvester Oromoni, God bless his soul, and I pray he rest in peace, was violently assaulted on the 27th of November, and a few days later, he succumbed to his injuries and died. Now, the official statement the first statement from the school was he died from a football game. Then the family released evidence showing the state of his body. And you do not need to be a football player to know that those injuries could not have been sustained in a football game. Those injuries can only come about from a mixed martial arts fight, a very severe boxing fight. Now, incidentally, more information has filtered in suggesting that week that the attack happened, there were no sporting activities in the school. Now, in all of this, I'm disappointed with the school's response. Now, as I said yesterday or 2 days ago, the father, Mr. Oromoni, said on Arise TV, nobody from the school had reached out to him. Now, the school was just determined to to protect itself. Now, initially, they said Friday and Monday off. That was Friday, the upper week, and Monday. This Friday and Monday, take it off and then prepare for exams. Excuse me, how? A child has been lost. You cannot satisfactorily explain what has happened, and all you're interested in is conducting some worthless, useless exams. Now, we understand that, although unconfirmed, that some of the alleged attackers are no longer within Nigerian territorial space. Now, Lagos State government rushes to close the school, then proceed on an investigation. So the question I'm asking, would it not have been smarter
To leave the school open.
to conduct that investigation while the
While
school is
school is
open?
open.
Because the moment you close it, the other attackers have the opportunity to leave, to evade justice. And then there are other students, if you call them and you speak to them and assure them they'll be safe, they will open up not only with respect to this particular incident, but also to previous incidents.
That
And
have
when you
gone.
follow Nigerian social media space, especially from past students of Dowen, it appears to be annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bullying is a culture. It's a rite of
It's
passage
not
for
just Dowen.
yes.
Yeah, but with Dowen,
Yeah.
repeatedly there have been accounts of previous incidents of bullying, and in one particular instance, the mother of a daughter complained to the school authorities allegedly that her daughter was being bullied by a particular senior student, and the alleged official response of Dowen College was, "Oh, don't worry, madam, the senior will soon graduate." All allegedly. So we need to get to a point. First of all, why are students being assaulted in boarding schools, and why is no one being brought to justice? Now, I don't know how the Lagos State government intends to proceed with this, and there's a huge trust deficit given the way they handle the NSAS matter. They set up a white panel, chose all the members, and then reject their report. And then with the building collapse, we still don't know where we are. So
It begs to
it's
ask
not
the
shocking
question.
to find that some people don't believe anything will come after this, but we feel for the family and we do hope that justice eventually is
Will be
gotten by
served.
them.
We have messages here. This is Hafiz Garfa. He's on YouTube. Yes, goes good point on the COVID drama there from Oyeyemi. Say it as it ought to be. Bam. This is on our WhatsApp platform. This is Sharif G1. Goes good morning, Smooth FM. It seems as though African countries have they haven't learned their lessons. Westerners saw an opportunity to roast us once again, and we continue to put ourselves on the table. It's beginning to be obvious that the Nigerian government deliberately put the nation in this situation. Welcoming the South African delegates into our land led us to the travel bans. The government knew what to do, yet they failed to act appropriately once again. The Nigerian citizens will always be at the receiving end. This is Yinka Boligos. When Trump tried to nickname coronavirus the China virus, we all saw how even his own people came down on him. Know this and know peace. The West don't care about Africa. We need to get leadership right in Africa. When Madagascar came out with their own AGBO, what did African Union do to support them? Who told us vaccines are the solution, Sir? Why not herbs? Localize our own solutions. And it goes on to say, I didn't attend boarding school, but I've read stories of how some seniors in boarding school bully students, and funny, we all think it's a normal thing. Go and fetch water for me. Take my plate to get food. Bring your provisions to my room. Wash my clothes. All sorts of nonsense. Such nonsense must stop. In fact, such students expelled. Even the housemaster sacked. This is Tayo. This Omicron is revealing the biases of the West. Omicron was identified in Europe, but South Africa made the mistake of being honest. Doing is how institutions are used to suppress issues. Despite the official statement from the school, contrary facts, the school still on that shameful behavior. God bless the departed. We move on there now from that, and I'm coming to Oyeyemi for this one. This is economy. States seek review of fundraising processes and capital market. This is from Guardian newspaper. State governors have urged regulators to review processes involved in raising funds in the Nigerian capital market to make it easier and more attractive for subnational to raise funds for long-term projects in the market. Oyemi.
Well, there's not much to break down here, to be honest, Judith. But as we usually say, many of the processes that we have are reactions to the way things are done. The regulators, and in this case, this is the Nigerian Exchange, I think is one of the forward-looking regulators in Nigeria. Many of their procedures are digitized. The demutualization and setup of the Nigerian exchange as an autonomous, operating entity in um, I think I don't know that the problem is really from the regulator. I know that the the processes can be simplified. I know that they can be more effective. Review time can be shorter. Review time can be more efficient. All of those things. But I believe that while that is a key issue, also when these funds are raised, what they're deployed for is actually what will build trust as well. There's a big trust deficit in our market. So when we see people not responding to fundraising efforts of the government, right? Because they say you can raise funds either locally or internationally. When we see non-response to fundraising efforts, it also impacts how the regulator is excited to support or not. If we can show that kind of transparency and increase the trust and efficiency in how we administer these resources when they come, I believe that that will fuel the process as well. Because if you go to market, right, raise funds, administer the funds, investors are happy, they want to you call again, they would come. And then by force, the regulator would, be able to say, okay, because of the way the market is moving, let us even make adjustments to facilitate the market. So that's one side of I know what it means to deal with regulators. Our regulators at large need training on what it means to enable business and enable trade. But I believe that the exchange has shown good faith largely on many issues, even the fundraising efforts. There's still a lot that can be done. It could be better, it could be improved, but definitely the bigger issue is enabling reducing the trust deficit in the market.
We're pretty much out of time, but still on. But this time we're moving to fuel subsidy. This is from Punch. Mr. C is for you. A fuel subsidy hits 1.3 trillion naira. NNPC to deduct 199 billion naira from Federation account. Amid plans by the federal government to remove subsidy on petroleum products next February. Government report shows the subsidy has gulped 1.3 trillion naira in the first 10 months of this year. The document also indicates the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited will deduct 199 billion naira for the payment of subsidy in December this year. Mr. C.
Okay, so very quickly, Judith. First of all, there's an ongoing illegality. There was no provision for subsidy in the 2021 budget. So this nonsense NNPC is doing about under recovery is just disgraceful. Coupled with the fact that none of the refineries are working. And there's no explanation. Nobody has lost his job. Nobody's concerned. All we keep here and waiting for the Dangote refinery to come online, whatever that means. Now, if the refineries were working, we should not be discussing anything about subsidy, under recovery, or collecting money. Now, very quickly, we cannot afford to continue to pay this. And the Kaduna State governor is correct. It's not sustainable. But what is even more unsustainable is the nonsense they want to do next year, which is this 5,000 transport policy. Excuse me, what is 5,000 supposed to do for any Nigerian on a 22-day work week cycle in any given month? Who are these spirits? Who are these individuals they want to give the money to? If you could not afford or you cannot afford 1.8 trillion naira, how are you able to afford 2.4 trillion at the very minimum? When they say these things, let it make sense. It's sad, it's heartbreaking to continue to listen to the nonsense that comes out every day from the people who are running this country. And again, I won't get tired of saying this. 2023 is the last opportunity we have to get these comedians out of power. Thank you.
All right, so this is Joseph Menu from Silver Estate Ojibo, Lagos. It goes, good morning, Judith. You're a vibrant analyst as well. The issues of Doan tragedy is a price we pay when every Tom, Dick, and Harry registers a school to the public without routine checks on what the schools are doing, because they are mostly owned by high and mighty. Even the Lagos state government erred by hurriedly closing the school with underground investigations. May God help us. This is Angel here. She goes, Dear Smooth, God rest the dead and comfort the family. But shutting down the school, to my mind, is a knee-jerk reaction. The school management should should be taken over by the Lagos state government, and the teachers, principal, and housemaster remanded while investigations are ongoing. Shutting down is punishing innocent students, parents, and teachers. And this is Osas. And it goes, good morning, all. How can the government expect to raise funds from citizens they are constantly defrauding with lies and deceit? Buhari said there was no profit from NNPC in July, whereas the amount paid for subsidy far outweighs the profit. And this is Ken here with the last question. It goes, 5,000 naira has really suffered in the hands of this government. Good morning to you, Ken. Good morning to everyone. Thank you also to you, Mrs. C and Oyemi. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Judith.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to the very end of Freshly Pressed 981. Coming up at 8:10, it's going to be time for Lagos Talks 981. That's when we open up our phone lines for you to react to the stories we just took. Stay with us.
You first. First bank.
This is the way Lagos State government take over the schools that
I'm
Lagos.
sorry, that's not.
Mention it on YouTube.
Okay, so I mean, they
Now what?
let them do the honors. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oyeyemi _ Emmanuel Aderi Bigbe. Aderi Bigbe.
Thank
And then
you.
Mr. C is Monsieur C.
Mr. C on
Must-
Instagram
must
and
see
D
on
Mr. C on Twitter.
Yeah, and D.
Oh my
We
goodness.
don't do fake yo,
Mr.
bye.
C, they want to give Lagos State administration